Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to today's info session. We've decided to hold this meeting for us to be able to clarify some of the issues that are coming up in regards to the APTI call 3. And so I want to thank you for creating time to join. And as we start, I wish to welcome the team at the AAS to introduce themselves. And I will start with our program manager. Dobed, maybe you can introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, good morning, colleagues, and welcome to this session. My name is Obed Ogega. I'm the programs manager working with Sheila and team implementing programs of the Academy. You're welcome.
Thank you, Quinta.
Good afternoon and good evening, everyone. My name is Quinta Masiwe. I support Sheila in support. Thank you.
Melody.
Hi, everyone. I'm Melody McKenna, assisting in programs. Thank you.
Roland.
Good morning. My name is Roland Opisa. I'm the Program Monitoring and Evaluation Officer here at the Academy. It's good to have you here. Back to you, Sheila.
Okay, thank you, Roland. And the team for your introduction. My name is Sheila, Grants Officer, APTI Project. So I want to welcome you all for the meeting this evening. So I'm going to take you through a brief presentation as an introduction, and then I'll open the session for question and answers. And I would wish to share my screen. Just a minute. And so maybe you can be typing the question in the chat box even as we make the presentations. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, please.
Yes, yes.
Yes,
okay, thank you. Okay, I'm sorry, just a minute. So I will take you through the presentation, background of the AAS. The African Academy of Sciences is an online and political, not for profit organization, and it has a tripartite mandate of recognizing excellence. It also works as an advisory and think tank functions for the African continent, and also it has the mandate of implementing key science, technology, and innovation programs. AAS is a continental academy in Africa, enjoying the support and recognition of the African Union and several governments, and also major international partners. Our vision is transformed life through science, and also our mission is to leverage resources through research, excellence, and thought leadership for sustainable development. Can you? I understand some people are saying they can't hear me. Okay. So our strategy is aligned to the Africa Vision 2063. And so we are trying to work in the areas of climate change, food insecurity, poverty, and high disease burden, and high disease burden in the region. The AAS business plan is anchored on 4 goals. The first one being building research and development leadership and environment that support a vibrant research culture, leadership, and development over the long term. We also support the development of an innovation and science-driven entrepreneurial culture. The third goal is to identify and support rising research leaders to stay and build their careers in Africa. And the fourth goal is target some critical gaps in the research landscape. And so you realize that most of the work that you're doing, we are working with rising research leaders and supporting the young researchers, career researchers. And so some of the things that are expected of them is for them to have a world-class research and innovation, to have prudent financial management, individual professional development, networking, and intra-Africa collaboration, among other things. We also have different projects that help us to implement key science, technology, and innovation programs in Africa. As I have mentioned earlier, within the 4 goals that are up there, that is building research and development in infrastructure, innovation, and entrepreneurship, and emerging research leaders, and critical gaps in research and development ecosystem. And we do this through different projects that we have in the organization. Some of the ones that are displayed here are still active, and some have come to closure. So looking at the APTI project, the APTI project started like in 2018. We had 3 leading partners and funders of Research for Health created the project. It's being implemented. The AAS in partnership with the National Institutes of Health and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And we see that over the years, the NIH, BMGF and other funders working in partnership with the African institutions such as the AAS and various universities and research centers in Africa have made some substantial investment to build research capacity in sub-Saharan Africa. So the project also works with the funding to advance the search for new interventions, treatments, and cures, and to improve health in the continent, which is a key determinant of development. The APTI program focuses strongly on entrenching postdoctoral fellowship in Africa home institutions, that is, universities and research centers. And so this starts from the application processes, and also during and after the fellowship, the fellows return to their home institution, that is from the NIH. As most of you are aware that the first phase of the fellowship is usually at the NIH labs, and then the second phase is at the African home institution. And so initially the program had targeted 30 to train up 30 African fellows, that is between 2018 and 2024, with the intended outcome that these fellows will become scientific leaders who can advocate for increased research and innovation projects in Africa. So far, since 2018, we have 19 active fellows, and with the call that has gone out, we intend to recruit at least 10 more. So we see sorry for that. So the objectives of APTI, as I've said, is to train early career researchers at the NIH who will return to their home institutions and become scientific leaders in their community. They should also help solve African challenges in global health and development. They should also become trainers for the next generations. And as we will see that when they come back to their home institution, we expect them to work with research teams and enroll maybe master students to support them with their research work and such. So as they work together with the research team, they will be training them as well. And also they are expected to advocate for increased research and innovation projects in Africa. So the eligibility requirements for the project is that one must be a citizen of an African country, currently employed in an academic research or government institution in an African country. We also require one to have a relevant doctoral degree, which has been awarded not more than 7 years before the deadline, which is 30th of September. However, we've said that maybe if you have an application that has been awarded earlier and you have a justification that you can put up for consideration, that is allowable, and the reviewers will be able to look for at the justification for consideration. They should also have less than 5 years of relevant research experience after the award of their postdoc degree by the start of their fellowship at the NIH. It's also a requirement for one to be fluent in English, in as much as we are working in the entire African region, and we know some region maybe use French or Portuguese or Arabic, but at least one should be able to express themselves in English through reading, writing, speaking, and also listening, because the first 2 years are at the NIH, which is in the US, and you'll be required to at least understand English. So we have the areas of interest, and so we see that the fellowship is open to applicants from fields of health research with a focus on innovation aimed at the discovery and translation of transformative solutions to global health problems. And so specific areas of interest in this call include human immunology, drug discovery, genomics, and gene-based cures for diseases like HIV, sickle cells, even cancer. And then we have HIV, TB, malaria, or any other neglected topical disease. We have like women's sexual and reproductive health, biology and control, maternal, neonatal, and child health. We have data science and also epidemic preparedness. So those are the specific areas of interest. And if you're able also maybe to link your proposal to these areas, you are welcome to submit your proposal. So we say that a key ingredient for the APTI program is a focus on the home institutions for APTI Fellows. So APTI expects commitment from the home institution to provide conducive research environments and dedicate research time for the fellows upon their return home. So during application, a letter of support from the applicant's home institution will be required, confirming that the home institution commits themselves to the requirements that they are for the APTI fellowship. And one of them is that they must be able to grant the fellow unpaid leave or sabbatical leave for 2 years to enable them to go to the NIH for the first phase of the fellowship. And they should also meet with the fellow while at the NIH to be able to monitor progress and also know how they are faring on in preparation for their return back to the home institution and for their second fellowship. The home institution should commit to giving the fellows protected time for research. That is when now they come back to Africa during their third and fourth year. They should at least be able to give you at least 50% of the time to dedicate it for research. They should also facilitate procurement of equipment that will enable the researcher to do their research. They should facilitate hiring the support team for the research work to continue, and they should commit in providing an enabling research environment for complementary resources, if available, creating attractive career pathways for the grantee and rewarding excellence in research. So that's the end of my presentation, and now I welcome you to ask questions. I want to believe you've been typing, and so at this juncture I want to welcome Dr. O respond to the questions that have been raised. Thank you.
Thanks, Sheila, for that presentation. I just wanted to quickly add that the APTI program is structured in such a way that when the first phase, as Sheila mentioned, is the 2 years at the National Institutes of Health in the US, where you are engaged as a postdoc fellow for the 2 years. You are linked with a PI in one of the labs in your areas of mutual interest, and then you embark on a research program for the 2 years. And then you transition to the African institution after the 2 years at the NIH, so that then you're given a grant of about $220,000 for the 2 years, 50,000 of which is meant for equipment, and then about 38,000 per year for salary support, and the rest is put into the research activities that you do. So after spending 2 years in the US as a postdoc, then you have a grant of about $220,000 that you'll be using to implement your research project back home. The idea is that that is something to get you started as you mobilize for additional resources and build your research career at your home institution. So it's a seed grant, if you may. So I guess I will just begin with the questions that have been typed already in the chat function. Maybe Sheila, you can also quickly go through that. So someone is asking for a certificate after the meeting. Mohammed Ahmed, you may want to clarify what that is. Nana Ifua said, wanted to find out exactly should be included. What exactly should be included in the letter of interest, please? How long should the letter be? In the application form, as you go through the application form, we are provided specific information of what should be provided on the letter or the expression of interest. So kindly go through that application form. You'll be able to get the information you need. Someone is, let's see. Jean-Pierre is saying, is there any format of proposal that AS recommend for APTI candidates? No, not really. This is not, I should also say at this point that this is not a full application, so to speak, because what we are interested in is getting to know you as a potential grantee or APTI fellow. The specifics in terms of what you'll be implementing at the NIH will be determined by the relationship you build or the network that you get with the person that you'll be linked to at the NIH. So right now, all you need to do is express interest, provide your general interest in your area of research, show what you've been able to do over the years, and then based on the information you provide, you'll be linked with the labs at the NIH. I mean, the review committee will be looking at the expressions of interest submitted and then trying to link you to a lab or a research at the NIH that will be of benefit to the work that you want to do. So all you need to do at this point is to provide an expression of interest, providing general information about your interest in research, and then that will be used to do the matching, so to speak. Yeah. So we don't have a specific format of the proposal that you need to do at this point, apart from what is provided on the application form. So go through the application form, you should be able to get some guidance on that. Dr. Arta Francis Alfred says one of the eligibility criteria for the APTI training program is that applicant must not be more than 7 years after earning a PhD and should in parallel have less than 5 years of relevant research experience. Could you provide further explanation of what you categorize as relevant research experience? Again, so here's the thing, different universities do things differently. You'll find that maybe if you're in South Africa, I guess you become a postdoc after a period of time. Some universities, after graduation with a PhD or equivalent, you get into being a lecturer. So the idea is that your PhD should not have been granted more than 7 years until September 30th of this year. Unless you have special reasons for consideration, like Sheila mentioned, in which case you need to provide a letter of justification and request to be exempted from that requirement. Relevant experience is relevant experience. There's no other way of explaining that. It basically means things that you've been doing that can be equated into having contributed to a general research experience in your field. So that takes any form. Ideally, you should be able to put forward a case, present to us what you think is a relevant experience in the context of your research interests in general, what you want to pursue if you're successful as the APTI Fellow. Yeah, hope that clarifies. Someone also says that as a senior lecturer who currently commits around 40% of your time to research, just to be sure that I'm doing the right calculation of research experience, could you confirm my years of experience? Please, what the requirement is, it's less than 5 years of relevant research experience. So if you've been doing research for 20 years in that particular field of interest, remember the idea is that this is a postdoc fellowship. It's a postdoc fellowship. So if you are a seasoned scholar in your field, what you are proposing to do in the APTI program, then you may not need this kind of funding. You may need something that targets more seasoned scholars or people that are quite experienced in your field. So the idea is that this is, you are still at the early stages of your professional career, so that then this fellowship, this APTI fellowship, will be used to enhance your capacity as a researcher. We are basically trying to, support people that have not been adequately supported so far, because otherwise then it beats the purpose of the whole thing. If you're coming as already a thought leader in your field, then you don't really need that kind of capacity building that APTI provides at this point. Wa'id Sule says, happy to be here. Happy to have you too. Thank you very much. Professionals in epidemiology or biostatistics eligible. Again, I'll refer you to the guidance notes or the call itself. There's a long list there of fields that we think are of immediate concern, of immediate interest to us. Having said that, I think the list is not exhaustive. Where you feel there's a link between what you want to propose to do and what is being asked for, you are welcome to provide an explanation, and the review committee will make a consideration. What is the difference between 7 years post-graduation and not more than 5 years post-graduation? Like we said, it's up to 7 years after your PhD and less than 5 years or less of postdoc experience in your research field. So like I said, sometimes people don't necessarily proceed into being researchers immediately after graduation. So that's why we don't expect that you have 7 years post-PhD research experience, 7 years after graduation, so that we give a leeway for those that did not immediately begin their research career. But that number is really indicating whatever you do, you can always provide your case, and then the review team will be able to make a consideration on that. A quick explanation, where you feel there's need for clarity, please provide that information so that it guides the reviewers accordingly. For those that are not employed by government, automatically kicked off? No, I don't think that we've said that you have to be employed by government. The requirement is that you're employed in an African institution. Let me just get the correct term for that. Must have currently employed in an academic, research, or government position in an African country. So that means it doesn't have to be a government institution, so long as it's an academic, research, or government institution. Okay. Thanks for the presentation. Would you please share the presentation after the talk? Yes, the presentation together with the recording of this meeting will be posted on the the page of our website where the call for APTI is announced. So we will upload this on the website in the next few days. Do I have to get a sponsor before submitting my application? Depends on what you mean by sponsor. The idea is that if you are currently employed in an academic, research, or government institution, this institution becomes your home institution in this context. and they need to give you a letter of support. The idea is that they need to let you be away for 2 years, as mentioned earlier, on sabbatical or unpaid leave to enable you to take up a postdoc fellowship at the NIH. And they should also be willing to receive you back when you're done with your NIH posting. If you don't intend to conduct your research at your current home institution, we're interested in 2 things. First, a letter of support from your home institution sending you to the end, committing to send you or to give you permission to be away during your fellowship, and a letter of introduction from your intended home institution when you come back. It could be that, yes, you work at a university, but you have a collaborative research center where you want to conduct your you specifically want to conduct your research. In that case, we will need a letter of introduction from your intended home institution when you come back, so that we know that they are ready to receive you on your return to Africa. Please, whom the letter of interest is addressed to, you can address it to the AS or the APTI program in general. So that we're not very particular on that. What kind of mentorship or training is offered at the NIH? How do they link you with someone in the NIH? So that's part of the candidate selection and placement process, so that successful candidates will be linked with there's a long list of principal investigators at the NIH doing different things in the areas of interest listed. So when you submit your expression of interest and you provide details, the review team or the technical committee will link you to a number of PIs, which in this case we call the potential partners that you want to work with. And then a matching process happens where you get an opportunity to interact with them until such a time when you now settle on the PI that you're going to work with in your research work at or postdoc fellowship at the NIH. So there'll be an entire process running or being done at just before you join, you begin your fellowship at the NIH. That process will be confirmed as we get closer to the placement period. Applicants going to be automatically allocated host PI in NIH. I think I've already explained that. You're a natural product chemist. Am I eligible? Please refer to the eligibility criteria defined in the call. Is it acceptable to include a potential host's name in the expression of interest? Absolutely. I mean, remember that there's a requirement for you to provide a letter of support from your host institution. So yes, that information is required at this point of application. Like we said, the idea really is to try and get the home institution support and commitment, because remember, like I said, there's a requirement for you to be away from the home institution for 2 years. So if at this point the home institution does not show that commitment, how will we show that once selected, you would actually get the permission to be away from your home institution? So that's why this is important, to engage the home institutions right from the beginning. To make it easy for you as well. You don't want to be struggling to get that permission after you've been granted the fellowship. What's the length of the letter? Again, like I said, we have not predefined that, just to make sure that you respond to the issues raised on the requirements stipulated on the call for applications. Do we need to submit any documents to show our proficiency in English? That's not a requirement for us at this point. All that is required is that you are able to speak basic English at least. This is in cognizance of the fact that we have different languages in Africa. Even if you are from maybe Francophone part of the continent, or you speak French or Spanish or Portuguese or Arabic, that's fine, so long as you are able to communicate in English. So for that reason, you don't really need a language proficiency certificate or anything like that. Yeah. You may attach the documents to email for further reference. Mohammed, again, I don't know what that means. Please clarify. How many postdoc candidates will be selected? Sheila alluded to this. It will be around 10. That number can go up or lower. I mean, I don't expect it to go lower than 10, but around 10. We are targeting about 10 postdocs for this cohort. Current call. Can you provide more clarification on the long-term goal? I mean, the idea is we are really trying to build the capacity of Africa as a whole to respond to our challenges in the context of global health and ultimately get to build that critical mass of researchers that will deliver the Africa we want as envisioned in Africa's Agenda 2063. So that's the ultimate goal. But in the process, we are working with, researchers like you and the host institutions to build both the individual capacity, but also the institutional capacity so that we all together can support research going forward. Someone is an entomologist, am I eligible? Again, I'll refer you to the eligibility criteria, which is defined in the call. You work with a private research institution, can I apply? Like I said, the call is open to applicants from academic, research, or government position. So that's the eligibility criteria that is defined. Sheila, can you continue, please, as I get to go through a few others? Sheila, I can't hear you. Can anyone hear me?
Sorry, I think
Yes,
I
we
was on mute. Okay, so do I need to have made contacts with prospective hosts at NIH? Dr. Obed has explained how we are matched with our PIs at the NIH after we submit our call, so we don't expect you to already maybe identify someone from there, but the successful candidates will be, we will work together with the team to identify suitable mentors for them. I mean, name of a researcher in NIH to potentially host one. No, I think it's the same question that we don't need to already identify PIs at the NIH, but you'll be supported or linked to a suitable one when the call goes through. For now, all you need to do, and when we said identify host institution or home institution, is where you will come back to do your research during the African phase of the fellowship, because some maybe are working maybe in a university and you'd want to do also to partner with a research institution or a research center when you come back. So those are the ones that we are saying when you identify them, let us get letters from them showing their interests to support you when you are back for the African phase. Can someone who is already on an ongoing postdoc fellowship out of Africa apply while he or she is away of the continent but still belong to his or her home institution? Yeah, so maybe Dr. Obed, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, thanks, Sheila. I mean, that is fine. That's fine. So long as you get a letter of support, and that at the point when you're supposed to be beginning your fellowships, you'll be able to begin the fellowship at the NIH. So it could be that you are currently engaged in some program somewhere. You can still submit that. It helps to provide a letter of support at this point, indicating that yes, at this point you're based somewhere else, but you'll be coming back or you'll be done with that program by the time you begin the APTI Fellowship. So that letter can go to support the application. All right. Maybe I can pick a few more, Sheila.
Okay, yeah, you can proceed.
How often is the APTI call? So again, we have done 3 so far after every 2 years, more or less. We will see how this goes, as we proceed. But for now, this is happening now. We anticipate another call in the next 2 years or so. But those dates can only be confirmed as we get close to that date. Yeah. Do I have to prepare a proposal for this call? I think I've already answered that. Is it compulsory? I must get a letter from my place of work. Can I get from an other research-oriented institution? Like I said, the idea is if you're working currently somewhere, the employer should commit to supporting you, be aware during that time. So that's why we're interested in getting to know whether you will actually be able to move to the US if you're granted the fellowship. So that's why it's important that you get a lot of support from your current employer. If you want to do the research from elsewhere, that can also be arranged between you, I guess, and your employer. But whatever you do, just let us know. Two things we're interested in is that you are able to take a sabbatical to actually go and implement your fellowship at the NIH for 2 years. But then when you come back, you also have a home institution to come back to. Yeah, so that's what we need to see in the letters of support that you provide at the application level. Success rate, can quickly check the numbers and let you know in a few. Okay, as I check, Sheila, I'll let you continue with a few more questions from the chat function.
I think all the typed questions, we've gone through them. If you feel that we've not tackled any question that you had typed, maybe you can.
Angela, let's ask the question.
Who?
Angela, correct.
Oh, will the program support? Sorry for the echo. Will the program support relocation with dependents, e.g. small child, and are there any allowances for childcare in the stipends? So, yes, for those who are willing to have their families there, there is the support package, and there is the link that has been attached there that shows what support you will get and the kind of stipends that you will get from the NIH. So while at the NIH, you will be paid based on the NIH guidelines. So I'm requesting you to also take your time to visit those links that have been posted in the course, because they will be able to clarify most of these issues. So then when will applicants learn that they have been selected? So we should be able to, when we close the call, we give time for the review process to happen, and early next year, those who have will have been successful will be contacted, and we will also be able to communicate to both. Whether you are successful or not, you'll get a response from us. How many times can candidates apply? I suspect it's apply. So if you're not successful, or is it for the same call? If you submit one call, I think that will be enough. Don't send multiple applications, because now that clogs the system, and also we might review the wrong one. So one application is good. Ensure that you give it your best as you send, and you can be able to edit as long as you've not submitted. But once you submit, then you won't be able to edit the application. But maybe in case you're not successful for this call, you are still welcome to try during the next call. So we don't limit you to make applications, maybe because you are not successful in the previous calls. I've lost my chat. So the next one, is there a standard word count or length of the required documents? We've said we've not specified that. So that has been answered. Please, do you need to write a proposal for this call? That has been answered as well by Dr. Obed. Are there not other areas of interest other than those in the presentation that one can focus on and justify? I've said that we've highlighted the areas of interest, and if you are able to link your proposals to those areas, then you can do so and submit your application. What is the time frame? When will applicants know either way? I've said by early next year, January, because the call closes end of September, and then we have the next 2 to 3 months to review, and then we'll get back to you. Just a comment, AS need to do their best to start updating application status on the Ishango site. Keep things as submitted, while it is rejected without communication is unfair. Thank you, Yaobi, that is noted, and we will improve on that. Do we need to have a home institute before applying? That has been answered, and we've said yes, you need to have a home institution that will be able to support you when you come back. So on proposal, sorry, comment again.
Sheila, as you look for the next one, I wanted to mention about, someone asked about the success rate. In 2019, we received 237 applications, from which 10 were selected. I'll still dig and see if I get the numbers for 2018. But in late 2019, when we received applications for cohort 2, we had about 237, from which 10 were selected. About the timelines, I wanted to mention that the plan is to have conduct interviews before the Christmas break. Obviously, that depends on how many applications we receive and how the review process goes. But either way, whether you're successful or not, we will communicate, we will let you know. So you don't have to rely on the system alone to get to know whether you are successful or not. So all candidates will be notified at every stage of the review process. And the plan is to finalize the entire process, which includes placement, by March next year, so that then you can begin the visa application process, which takes quite some time, before the fellowships begin around August, September 2023. So that's the timeline. We hope to conduct interviews by December this year, after which successful candidates should be processed by around March of next year, in time for commencement of fellowships from around August, September next year. That's how the timeline is at the moment. We hope we don't have another pandemic like COVID that would, significantly slow down things. So all factors held constant, that is how we see the timeline at this point. Okay. Are there any other areas of interest? I think Sheila's answered that. Please, if you feel what you're interested in is aligned with the objectives of the APTI program, please feel free to submit your application. And if you can, just do a quick cover letter that explains, so that the reviewers will get an idea of what you're trying to pursue. Okay. What else? Will you send the application guidelines via email? The application guidelines are provided in the call for the applications itself. So as you log in, go to the web page of APTI. Let me just post it in the chat function, just in case we have colleagues that don't have access to it. But basically, you go there, click in as you apply, you get the guidelines, and that will guide you as you go through the application form. Please someone is asking about the need for a proposal. Like I said, it's an expression of interest. As you go through the question form, you will see a part where you're required to upload or provide an expression of interest, answering a few questions that have been listed there. So that's what we need at this point. Specifics about what you want to do in your research will be agreed on with your PI at a later stage. PI being the person you linked with at the NIH afterwards, after the candidate selection process. Over to you, Sheila.
Thank you. Dr. Jijoho's hand was up. Have you been answered?
No, thank you. I have a question, but I don't have the rights to type my question. That's why I raise my hand. Hello?
Yes,
Yes. So I have two questions. Can I
proceed.
proceed? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Yeah. My first question is that can we get one of the professional letter of recommendation from a reference who is working in another institution? And the second question is, I saw on the iShango platform that at the point 2, they ask for the current employer institution. And I saw that this display 1,000 words. So I would like to know what you expect also to put in this field.
Dr. Obed?
Okay, so the letter of support from someone that is from outside your host institution, that's fine. So long as this is someone can give you a recommendation, they are welcome to do so. About the application form on Ishango, you know,
Yeah.
the 1,000 word limit is just an indicative thing. So just type your name, the name of your host institution. That's it. You don't have to put anything else. It's just the name of your host institution.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Dr. Peter's hand is up.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, by academic research, I think it has been addressed. By academic research, I think I have two questions. By academic research, I understood that someone like me working in a university can make an application. Hello?
Thanks, Peter. Are you referring to the eligibility criteria, the first one?
That's
Okay,
correct.
so
That's
yeah,
correct.
so we are saying to be eligible to apply, you must be a citizen of an African country, currently employed in an academic institution or research institution or government position. Academic means generally the universities or institutions of higher learning. A research institution can be anything, can be MRC Gambia, can be, you know, a research institution by definition, as you know it, or government position, or maybe in the Ministry of Health, or you know, depending on the country or where you're coming from. So all those three possibilities are welcome, whether it's an academic institution, a research institution, or a government position somewhere in the field related to health. Yeah. All right. If we don't have any other questions, I think can call it a day. Sheila, do we miss anything?
No, I think we've responded to all the questions that had been typed and the ones that had raised their hands up. So I wish to thank all for the active participation. We will be doing this again after in the next 2 weeks. So yeah, the link is still out there. And if you still have queries, you can keep sending them via emails, but we will have another info session in the next 2 weeks. Thank you and bye.
Thank you, everyone, and good afternoon.